Patricia Sprinkle, Joan Hess, Larry Duran, Katie Munger, and especially Sarah Ferris-Smith for sharing their stories.
Chapter 1. What shall we say of lawyers? Cicero. Wednesday morning, and we were nearing the end of jury selection for a civil case when the rear door of my courtroom opened and several people entered. In the quietness of the courtroom, as they took seats in an empty bench to the left of the jury pool, I heard a faint squeaking sound, but I couldn't determine its source. The latecomers ranged in age from late teens to a wizened old man in a wheelchair. I recognized only one of the group, Marilyn Mulholland, who owns a printing company here in town. She had printed up my business cards back when I was still in private practice, and although semi-retired now, she had personally overseen our wedding invitations when Dwight and I married Christmas before last. Taking the seat beside her was an unfamiliar young woman. She was slender and wore trendy turquoise blue leggings, an off-the-shoulder purple jersey, and matching purple hair. Then I did a double take. Young woman? Like hell. Her slender figure and push-up bra may have fooled me momentarily, but the face beneath the purple hair would have looked at least 20 years older than mine, except that I knew for a fact she'd had a second facelift last year. The purple hair was new, though, and must be a wig because her own hair had never come back in properly after the chemo. Sally Crenshaw, my cousin, the 62-year-old daughter of my daddy's sister Rachel. Now, what had brought her to my courtroom this morning? At first I wondered if she'd come to personally tell me that Aunt Rachel had finally died, but she studiously avoided my eyes and seemed caught up in the jury examination being conducted by the two attorneys at the front of the room. I turned my attention back to counsel for the plaintiff, who asked that I excuse the next prospective juror because she had just said she knew the sister of the defendant. I nodded and we moved on. This was our second day of voir dire, a tedious, time-consuming process. Some people are eager to serve, usually for the wrong reasons, but most would rather not spend the time listening to legal jousting when they had planned to spend the week doing other, more interesting things. Your Honor, I have a hair appointment for this afternoon, a blonde woman said. Color? I asked, noticing a thin line of dark roots at the hairline of her forehead. Just shampoo and cut, she said brightly. I denied her request. Color appointments aren't all that easy to get, but there was no reason she couldn't reschedule a simple cut. I had already excused several from the pool because they had personal connections with some of the participants, and I was again reminding them about their need to keep an open mind, fairness, etc., when I noticed that an older man in the second row of the jury box seemed to be having trouble hearing me. He leaned forward intently, turning what was probably his good ear toward me and frowning in concentration. I glanced down at the diagram I'd filled in of the current occupants. Mr. Ogburn, I said, speaking more loudly and clearly than usual, is there a problem with your hearing? Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. I don't do so good without my hearing aid. He held up a small flesh-colored device. Is your battery dead? No, ma'am, but there was a sign outside that said to turn off all electronic devices. I tried not to laugh. That doesn't apply to hearing aids, I told him. And when he had put it back in his ear, I let the two attorneys have their turn. Thankfully, the last two jurors were acceptable to both sides. Today's case was a civil action, Bruce Connolly versus Dottie Connolly Moorfield, a middle-aged brother suing his middle-aged sister over their late mother's possessions. The woman had died without a will, so the clerk of the court had appointed Mrs. Moorfield the administratrix for the estate. Well before her death, the mother had given Mrs. Moorfield her power of attorney, and that was good enough for our clerk. After receiving her account of all the assets, he had split everything equally between Mr. Connolly and his three sisters, everything being her bank account and whatever possessions were in her house at the time of death. Mr. Connolly's suit alleged that the sisters had removed certain valuable